Good afternoon, class. This is the assignment from yesterday. This one is page 635, and for these problems, we are trying to find the area of each figure. Now with these, as you can see, the shapes are not our usual circle, rectangle, triangle, but they have, a figure is something that we can split. So for our first one, we would most likely split the figure with this line. So now you see two rectangles. So what we're going to do first is find the area of each different rectangle and add those two together. So for our first rectangle, we take 12 times 4.5, which is 54 centimeters squared. And our second is 2 centimeters times 5 centimeters, which is 10. And so to find the area of this full figure, we add the 54 plus 10 to get us a total of 64 centimeters squared for this figure's area. For this next problem, we will split this figure so that it's a triangle and a rectangle. And so for a rectangle, we take the length, which is 24, and the height, which is 8, and multiply those together to get us 192 yards square. And for this triangle, we are going to use the 12 across, since we have 24 minus both of those sides, 6 and 6. And then our height, we figure, will be 8 because we look at this 16 and subtract it from the rectangle's 8. And so we will take 12 times 8 and divide it by 2 since it's a triangle and get 48 for our area. Now add our two together and we will get a total of 240 yards square. For number 3, we will split the figure right here so that we'll have a semicircle and a triangle. Now for our semicircle, we will take the radius 8 times and times it by itself and by pi so that we get, and divide by 2 since it's a semicircle, so we get our area for that to be 100.5 because we rounded up to the nearest tenth. And for our triangle, since we see that there are two of them that are the same, we can just take this part and add it right here so that it actually makes a rectangle. And so we take the height and base, so 15 times 8, to get us an area of 120. And so we will add those two up to find the area of our full figure, and that is going to equal 220.5 centimeters square. And for number 4, we're going to do the same thing, split our figure up, and here we have another semicircle. But here you can see that we are given the diameter of 15 across. So we need to split that and divide by 2 to get our radius, which will be 7.5. Multiply that by itself and multiply it by pi to get us, and then remember to divide it by 2 since it's a semicircle to get us 88.3. And then find the area of our rectangle down below, which would be 7 times 15, which will get us 105. And then add those two together to get a total of 193.3 meters squared. Now for number 5, you can see that dotted line. That's exactly where we're going to split our figure. And the bottom shape, it's not quite a rectangle, but it is a trapezoid. So that formula is half of a base 1 and base 2 added together, so 7 plus 9, and then times it by the height, which is that 3.6. And so for that trapezoid, we are going to get an area of 28.8 And as you can see above it, there's a triangle. And so to get the height of that triangle, we are going to take this whole length, 6.4, minus the height of the trapezoid, which is 3.6. So we are going to be getting a height of 2.8, and then we need to multiply it by the length, which is 7, and divide by 2 since it's a triangle. So for that area, we will be getting a 9.8. We need to add that to our 28.8 to get a total of 38.6 feet squared for this area. For our last problem in this section, we are going to be doing a semicircle with another trapezoid. And so as you can see, for our semicircle, our radius is 3 yards. So we times that by itself and then multiply that again by pi and then divide by 2 since it's not a full circle, and that will get us 14.13, but then we will just round that to 14.1 for the nearest tenth. And then for our trapezoid, since we're only giving the radius, we need to find what this side is, which is 3, and so add that together, and so we'll get 6 and 10 for our two bases. So it'll be 16 times a half, so we'll be given 8, and multiply that by the height to get us 64 yards squared for our trapezoid, and then add those together to get the full area of the figure, and that will give us 78.1 yards squared for the area. For number 7, we are given a word problem. Daniel is constructing a deck like the one shown. What is the area of the deck? So for this one, I split it into 2 trapezoids and a rectangle because I could see if I drew a line here, I'm given 2 different bases, and then they give this 3.5, which would be the height. And then I know that the side of the rectangle is going to be 5 because of all the tick marks along the octagon. That means that each side is the same. They're all the same. And so to do this, I found the area of the trapezoid. So I did half times the 2 bases added together, so 5 and 12, and multiplied that by the height, 3.5. And I ended up getting 29.75. And since I have 2 trapezoids, I multiplied that number by 2. And then I found the area of this rectangle, so I took the base times height, 12 times 5, and got 60. And so I added the 60, the 29.75 times 2 together to get 119.5 feet squared for our deck. Now for 8 and 9, you need to find the area of the shaded region. And so for 8, you see a large triangle figure, but you only want the shaded part. So if you draw the line, you see that this is a trapezoid. And so our formula is half times the 2 bases added together, which we see are 6 and 10, so add those 2 together. And to find our height, we aren't given that, but we see that the whole length of the big triangle is 15, and then this height of the smaller triangle is 9. So we take the 15 minus 9 to get us 6 for our height. So we multiply our bases by 6, and that will give us our area, which is 48 yards squared. And for our number 9, we want to find this portion of this figure. And as you can see, that's kind of a awkward shape thing. But I feel that they will be given, we will split them all into rectangles. So I'm going to go right here because of this open space. and then right here because of this open space to make each rectangle have a base and a height. And so from here, I see this is 4 centimeters and the whole length is 13. So for this length, I'm going to take 13 minus 4, which will give me 9. And so we'll take the height and base, 9 times 3 to get us 27 for this triangle, or this rectangle. And then going to this rectangle, I'm going to take the 13 minus 2 down here to get me 11 for the length, and then take 7 minus this 3 to get this height of 4. And so take 4 times 11 to get me 44 for this area of this whole rectangle. And then going to the small one, since this side is 1 and this one is 3 and the whole is 7, I'm going to subtract the 3 and 1 from the 7 to get me the side of 3 centimeters. And for this side, we know that it's 2 from this dimension. So we take the 3 times 2 and get 6. And I'm going to add all of those areas together, 27, 44, and 6, to get me 77 centimeters squared.